Welcome learners. Tribes of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh 4.
In this video, we shall be discussing about the present status of the tribes of the region in terms of literacy rate, sex ratio, work participation ratio and nature of work as per 2001 census report.
True.
Literacy rate.
The table shows that the literacy rate of STs in Chhattisgarh is not only higher than that in the last census, but is slightly also higher than that at the national level. The male as well as female literacy rates are similar to those at the national level. Whereas in Madhya Pradesh, there is an increasing literacy rate from 2001 census, it is lower than that of all STs at the national level. Male and female literacy rates are also lower in comparison to those at the national level. In Madhya Pradesh, among the major tribes, only Gonds have registered a higher overall literacy as well as female literacy in comparison to the national average. In Chhattisgarh, Halba, Oran and Kavar have registered overall higher literacy level than that of all STs at the state level.
Sex ratio.
The overall sex ratio of the ST population in Chhattisgarh is 1020 females per 1000 males, which is higher than the national average of 990 for total ST population. Whereas in MP, it is 984 females per 1000 males, which is lower than the national average.
Work participation rate.
The work participation rate in Madhya Pradesh for ST population is 49.9%, which is slightly lower than that of STs at the national level. In Chhattisgarh, the WPR of the ST population is 52.8% with a marginal decennial decline of 0.6%.
Category of workers.
According to 2011 census, in both the states, around 70% of the tribals are engaged in agriculture, which still remains the predominant occupation of the tribals. In 1951, nearly 90% of the tribals were engaged in agricultural activities, which indicates that there is hardly any change in the economic aspects of the tribals, even though at the national level, the percentage has come down to 81%. After independence, the Government of India adopted the integration approach to bring the tribals into the national mainstream. Integrating them into the national mainstream meant to make available to them the advantages of education, technological advancements, economic and social development, of which they had been deprived since ages due to their secluded existence without threatening their rights to preserve their culture. At the same time, the Constitution of India prescribed protection and safeguards to them with the object of removing their social disabilities and promoting their varied interests. In March 1992, the National Commission for SCs and STs was given a constitutional status. Further, the government has also increased the size of the investment in every successive 5-year plan. The tribal sub-plans, which were started during the 5th 5-year plan in the year 1974-79, are implemented through integrated tribal development programs covering 75 primitive tribes. The amount allocated for the tribal sub-plans increased from the 5th 5-year plan to the 8th 5-year plan by nearly 15 times. MP is the second highest beneficiary of central funds for financing schemes for uplifting tribals' economic and social status. In 2008-09, it was the second highest receiver of Government of India funds under the Special Central Assistance to Tribal Sub-Plan for employment cum income generation activities and the infrastructure incidental thereto. In spite of this, as per information placed in Parliament by Union Tribal Affairs Minister, 58.58% of the rural tribal population lives below the poverty line, and there is only a marginal increase in their economic condition on moving to an urban center where 44.65% of tribal population is found to be living under BPL. This makes Madhya Pradesh the second highest state in percentage terms for tribals living below poverty line. In comparison, Chhattisgarh is relatively better off, with tribal population between 54.74 and 41.04% living below poverty line in rural and urban areas respectively. These figures are based on a study conducted by NSSO during 2004-2005 for the Planning Commission. The report indicates that there are leakages at various levels which lead to the siphoning of the funds meant for tribal welfare. Corruption, lack of interest on part of the officers at the administrative level, apathy, lack of accountability, and scores of other reasons are responsible for the deplorable condition of the tribals of the state. Chhattisgarh, the home to some of India's most culturally distinctive tribes and coveted natural resources, is in the grip of a brutal civil war between the Indian state, the Naxals, and the counter-Naxal Salwajudum. According to a newspaper report, the war claims at least one life every day and steadily widens a traditional gap between government and people as it shrivels options for negotiations.
Challenges before the government, both at the state and the central level, are enormous.
Exactly. It is indeed a matter of deep concern that even after many years of independence, we have not been able to achieve the aim of integrating the tribals into the national mainstream. Their problems seem to have only increased. With the struggle to keep up with globalization and achieve the status of a developed country, we cannot afford to ignore 8% of our population and keep them deprived or exploited by their own fellow countrymen. In conclusion, it can be said that the tribals need our concern, our respect, and need to be treated as equals. The following lines by Rigoberta Menchú, Guatemala Nobel Peace Prize winner in the year 1992, should serve as a reminder regarding our duties towards our tribal people. We are not myths of the past, ruins in the jungle or zoos. We are people and we want to be respected, not to be victims of intolerance and racism.
Conclusion.
The word tribe conjures up an image in the minds of the common people of simple folk living in hills and forests, famous for their dances and songs, animists in their beliefs, following a traditional and backward way of life, and fearful of adopting the modern way of life. This unit attempts to give a description of the dominant tribes of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, which are a part of central India, their common features as well as distinctive practices. The tribal groups of the central zone are scattered all over the mountain belt between the rivers Narmada and Godavari. Madhya Pradesh holds the distinction of being the most populous tribal state since independence. Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh together have about 46 scheduled tribes. Out of these, 7 tribes are most backward and are identified as primitive tribes based on their pre-agricultural level of technology, low level of literacy, and stagnant or diminishing population. These primitive tribes are Saharias of Chambal division, Barinas of Patalkot, Baigas of Baigachak area, Hill Korbas and Birhors of Sarguja, Kamars of Raipur, and Abujmarias of Bastar. Agriculture still remains the predominant pattern of tribal economy. The tribals are also known to depend on the products of forests, hunting on land and fishing for their food. while the Bhils are the most populous tribe in Madhya Pradesh, the Gonds are the biggest group of the ST in number and the most populous tribe in Chhattisgarh. The overall sex ratio of the ST population in Chhattisgarh is 1020 females per 1000 males, which is higher than the national average of 990 for total ST population, whereas in MP it is 984 females per 1000 males, which is lower than the national average. Similarly, the literacy rate of STs in Chhattisgarh is not only higher than that in the last census, but also higher than the national level.
In this session, you would have understood about the present status of the tribes of MP and Chhattisgarh.
Thank you.